All right, we're headed to the high point of Elk County, and I lucked out today and ran into an old friend, John Dzemyan. And John, you're no longer with the Game Commission, but introduce yourself to folks kind of however you wish to.
Glad to. It was my lucky day to run into you and find out you're going to climb a tree, which made the day even better. We're walking back a road on Elk State Forest where there used to be a fire tower. It's called the Wildwood Fire Tower.
Wildwood.
Yep. And this area has changed dramatically over the last 40 years. It used to be a lot of old timber and hardly cut. A lot of private land that was owned by National Fuel Gas and Seneca Resources. But in the last 40 years, the land was sold to different timber companies. And then the good news is 25,000 acres of it got sold to DCNR, Elk State Forest.
Okay.
So there's now 25,000 acres of new state forest land up here. And interesting though, the timber companies kept the timber rights to it. So for 20 years after they purchased it, they aren't allowed to cut any trees of a certain size. So we're going to end up with pretty close to 20,000 acres of clear cuts in a small area. And the wildlife is thriving as a result of a lot of that logging. Deer populations are actually out of control, although hunters never believe that,
Well, and that's a bit your background, right? Your expertise is with deer and habitat, correct?
Yep, I was a land manager with the Game Commission many years, and my role with the Game Commission, I started out as a laborer, working in the woods, cutting trees, planting food plots, planting trees. Then I went into our training school, became a conservation officer, game protector back then, and then became a land manager, which was my goal in the first place. So I could get out and improve the landscape. While we're walking, there happens to be a cucumber magnolia loaded with fruit this year. And neat tree. That might be your highest tree.
Is the fruit edible?
Animals love it.
Okay.
People probably couldn't eat it.
Okay.
If you break it open, it smells like kerosene.
Really?
And a guy told me once, if turkeys eat too many of those seeds, they taste like kerosene. I don't know if I believe him, but yeah, the fruit's pretty neat on it. It gets a seed pod.
I would have thought that was a white oak based on the trunk,
Yeah, and you look up at the seed pods right now are kind of reddish green, but they'll turn brown, look a little bit like an old spruce cone, but they'll have these bright orange seeds in them. But if you scratch that orange cover off, there's a black ebony seed inside it. That's the actual seed, and the animals love it. If you come back here, a bear will have claw marks all up and down that tree and broken branches up there from going up there to eat.
Do you know what the lumber's graded as? Is it just poplar?
It's a low. They made railroad ties and crates out of it.
Okay.
But it still could be nice wood. I built a woodshed out of cucumber, and they say as long as you can keep it dry, it'll last forever, like hemlock.
Wow.
I built it 40 years ago, just about, and the boards look like the day I put them up.
So there used to be a
definite high spot.
Gee. So there used to be a fire tower here.
Yes, I think it sat right in here. In the winter, you can still see maybe the cement things for it. The legs were.
So this looks like the crest. So we're kind of at the high point of Elk County. Yeah, that's the tree.
Stand, don't go into the sun, but I'll take a picture of you with the highest tree in Elk County.
Heads up. Go a little higher. All right, let's see what we see. I might go a little higher. Oh yeah, there we go. All right, where's John? There's John. Yeah, I'll get some pictures of you in a moment. Let me take in the view. So John, to the best of your ability, point where you think I was for Cameron today, the 6 Mile road. Yeah, that's what it feels like. Okay, I can see a couple radio towers over there. Today when I was over there, I could see these white puffs of clouds coming up from the dirt road we drove in on for this spot. Pretty good view to the west.
You can hear the train going through right now by Rathselis. It's heading towards the Kinzua Bridge.
Well, it was great being in Elk County with my friend John Dzemyan. John and I worked closely together on the project in 2013 when I helped the Game Commission tell the story of the 100th anniversary of the reintroduction of elk. And a lot of that work that I did for the Game Commission that year was in this area and working with John. So it's pretty cool to come back here, and I literally just bumped into him today. It couldn't have worked out better. This is a sugar maple that we are in today, and to the best of my memory, this is the first sugar maple I have found at a high point. So that's pretty cool. All right, let's see, we'll work our way back down. A lot of arborists, myself included, get real leery in maples, but it's more so the soft maples, red maple and silver maple and Norway maple. They can be real soft and unpredictable. You can have trunk failure and limb failure when you least predict it. But I feel much more comfortable in a sugar maple, which has the nickname hard maple. A lot of Pennsylvania manufacturers of baseball bats have switched over to maple because the ash is on its way out. I'm an old school baseball player that likes ash for my baseball bats, but a lot of major leaguers have switched over to maple, and they seem to be hitting just as many home runs. Skateboards are made predominantly out of maple. And here we got another poplar tree, or not poplar, cucumber tree. So when we were in Cameron County today, the second highest tree on the site was a cucumber. I don't know that I would say, well, there was a big cucumber, wasn't there, that was the second highest.
Right here?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's two of them.
All right. How's that?
Let me take a picture. I was taking a video there. Hold on. Looking good.
Here, I'll lay out. I'll do a Superman.
That might scare your wife.
And something John and I were just talking about is the challenge of non-native species in Pennsylvania. And unfortunately, there's quite a few on this site, but right here behind John, you got a Russian olive or autumn olive coming in. And don't get me wrong, wildlife will eat them, but I had a biologist explain it to me this way. They said, you know, yeah, you will see our native animals eating some of these non-natives, but I also see a lot of teenagers drinking soda with a lot of sugar in it. And so in other words, it's not necessarily that they won't eat it, but it's not the native proper nutrition they're supposed to be getting. And I really like that. John, what'd you think of that analogy? I kind of liked it.
Very good one, very good one. And even some of the non-natives, like a regular common apple tree, they're probably not real harmful if wildlife eats a crab apple that isn't native. But it's better to have a lot of the native plants. They can survive better and put up with all the insects and funguses and all that kind of stuff way better than the invasives. And I should say they can survive on the habitat better than the invasives, but the invasives bring in the diseases,
yeah,
wipe them out, but they have no natural resistance to. So,
while I have you here on camera, there's a native tree, the striped maple, right next to us.
Yep.
What's your 2 cents on the whole, like why all of a sudden in modern times are these taking over places in the Allegheny National Forest?
Well, it's always a combination of factors, okay? Former intrusions by humans and the way they logged, the forest fires, and the way they managed the white-tailed deer. And those 3 factors together, a plant like striped maple is not real high on the list of what deer like to chew on.
Okay.
If the deer was out here, found a little red oak or white ash or cucumber magnolia, it would eat all them first and leave the striped maple alone. And the other factor is, though, when all those other good plants are gone and the striped maple's left, they will chew on the striped maple heavily, but it's resistant to browsing. It can stand more browsing. There's another shrub called mountain maple, very similar to the striped maple.
Oh, yeah.
The mountain maple gets chewed on and it disappears from the environment, and the striped maple gets chewed on and it survives. It's kind of like red maples and sugar maples. Red maples can withstand way more browsing than sugar maple. Why, I don't really know, but they just seem more resistant, and they're a faster growing, more aggressive tree. So you end up with more red maples and less sugar maples, sometimes in areas with high deer populations.
Does the mountain maple leaf look like a miniature sugar maple leaf, but it's like a little bush?
Similar,
or more like a striped maple?
It's in between the two. It has it's like the striped maple, only with a bunch of little teeth on it.
Okay.
And if you look right over here, there is a striped maple with a bunch of seeds on it.
Okay.
And on the mountain maple, the seeds look very similar, but they come out the end of the branch. And on the striped maple, they hang down below the branches.
Okay.
So you'll pick up those little differences real quick.
Well, that was a nice climb, sugar maple.
Hey, thanks for not falling.
Thanks, John.